Hello and welcome to our Partner Academy Live webcast. This is Microsoft and SAP, Innovating for Your Success. Kicking us off today is Chris Voss, who is a worldwide SAP Alliance Lead at Microsoft. So Chris, you now have the floor.
Great, thank you, Debbie. And I'll start by saying good evening and good afternoon, since it sounds like the majority of you are from Europe. But good morning to our American and North American colleagues as well. As Debbie said, my name is Chris Voss. I manage the SAP Alliance here at Microsoft Corporation. I really want to welcome you and thank you for joining this webcast. We will be joined by a number of people today, and as Debbie said, we have a packed agenda, so we're going to go through this fairly quickly. I do want to share with you who's all on today's presentation and who you'll be hearing from. So from the SAP side, Rustam Brocha, Gordon Ronald, and Holger Bruckholt will all be joining us and sharing in the presentation. From the Microsoft side, it's myself, Louis Scott de Martinville, Vivek Malhotra, Jürgen Grebe, Sanjay Soni, and Mario Mendiola will also be joining in and sharing in various parts of the presentation. I do want to kick us off by just setting the ground, the stage a little bit about the history of the relationship and what our focus is on the Microsoft and SAP Alliance. First of all, this is our 20th year of partnering together. Bill Gates and Hasso Plattner actually signed the first agreement back 20 years ago to make sure that the Microsoft platform would be a stable, long-running platform to support the SAP applications. And of course, that has been the core focus, the core pillar of our relationship for those 20 years. And as a matter of fact, more than 35,000 customers today run their SAP applications on a Windows and SQL platform. So we've been very successful, but we haven't stopped there. The guiding principles of our innovation have always been around three things. How can we help lower our customer TCO, increase their agility, or improve the end-user productivity? As most of you know who are involved in the SAP and Microsoft world, when you bring together the world's largest system of record, like SAP, with the world's largest system of engagement, like Windows and the Microsoft Office productivity suite, there are a lot of opportunities, but there are some challenges as well. And so that's why we are working so hard, and what you're going to hear about today is a lot of the innovations that we're delivering to the market that are going to help in those three areas. And finally, I want to say thank you to all the SIs and ISVs. This is primarily a partner webinar we have here today, because we know that without you, we wouldn't be able to achieve those three goals above. So we are dedicated to making sure you understand that you're enabled and ready to go have these conversations with all of our joint customers to take advantage of what we're offering today. So with that, I will turn it over to Rustam Brocha, who will actually go into more detail about a very important announcement we made last week, and that will kick us into the four areas of our presentation today. Rustam?
Thanks, Chris. Thank you all, and welcome to the presentation. As you might have heard recently, we announced a strengthened and expanded SAP Microsoft partnership. And as the foundation of this expanded partnership, we focused on the key areas of synergy between our companies that can drive increased value to our customers. And as you've probably heard, we identified four key pillars to support this new alliance. And I'm just going to go through those really briefly at a high level as a precursor for what you're going to see later on in this presentation. First off, we focused on the cloud, putting SAP applications on Azure. Our goal is to provide cloud economics to our customers, running SAP solutions on the Azure public cloud to provide added cost savings and value to our mutual customers. Then we looked at business intelligence, and the vision there is providing BI for the masses through our integration with the SAP Business Objects Platform with Microsoft Excel and Power BI. What that enables us to do is it enables Excel users to search, discover, and analyze SAP BI data at the touch of a button. And it's something that customers have been asking for many, many years. Then we looked at expanding our already existing interoperability. Previously, we did have interoperability with Duet Enterprise between SAP backend systems and SharePoint. We've enhanced that now, enabling access to SAP data and business processes through the ubiquitous Microsoft productivity applications and platforms like Outlook, Excel, and SharePoint, just as examples. Now, this simplifies access to and use of SAP applications across the enterprise. And finally, the fourth pillar we've been working on is around mobility, teaming together to provide access to SAP applications and data anytime, anywhere, using the ubiquitous Microsoft platforms and devices. So that's a good high-level synopsis of where we're focusing and the revitalized partnership and how we've expanded it. In the following slides, we will show you a few high-level examples of our activities within these pillars, always focusing on a highlight of customer value. So with that, I'll hand it over to Louis Scott de Martinville to talk a little bit more about our cloud and our cloud partnership. Louis?
Thank you, Rustam. Hello, everyone. We'll start with sharing with you more details about the SAP applications on Microsoft Azure. So when we say SAP applications on Microsoft Azure, we're talking about all the SAP Business Suite and SAP NetWeaver-based applications from SAP that customers can run directly on Microsoft Azure IaaS, so infrastructure as a service. So this provides a simplified infrastructure management solution, shorter development cycles, and reduced costs to run SAP applications on cloud solutions. And we also propose a streamlined support process for escalations between SAP and Microsoft when customers want to log in a service request. So the solutions that are certified to run with Microsoft Azure cover the SAP solutions such as SAP HANA, Developer, SAP Business Suite, and SAP Business All-in-One. So with Microsoft Azure, customers can use one single cloud OS solution to run SAP on a private, hybrid, and public cloud. They can also use one management solution for on-premise and online environments, such as Microsoft System Center with SAP LVM. It's also a unified platform that is really enterprise-grade. We also have a support agreement that proposes streamlined support experience across SAP and Microsoft solutions. And it really is an enterprise-ready infrastructure with a global coverage of our data centers worldwide. So we'll share with you more details on what SAP on Azure is exactly on the next slide. So here you can see the scope of the certification and the support technical notice that was published on May 27th. As you can see here, the Business Suite is certified for SQL Server and ASE on A5 instances. The Business All-in-One solution is certified for SQL Server and ASE. SAP HANA Developer Edition is certified on SUSE Linux on instances such as A7 and A8 from Microsoft Azure, and finally all the SAP NetWeaver 7.x applications and above are certified for SQL Server and ASE on Windows. And you will be able to find more details on the scope of this certification on the technical support notice that was published by SAP on May 27. We already have a few customers running SAP on Microsoft Azure. We launched an early adoption program in September 2013. Here are some of the results that we see among those customers. What we see, for example, is that customers can provision SAP instances within 20 minutes using the SAP Cloud Appliance Library, or the SAP CAL. So you can have SAP instance up and running in a few minutes. And we'll see a demonstration of this right after after this slide. It's also 200 to 300 times faster than running an SAP on-premise instance. Most of our customers use those SAP instances today for development and infrastructure for SAP workloads. We also have some customers using SAP on Azure in production. we see that those customers save between 40 and 75% in hosting costs. They also gain a lot of flexibility to shift from capital to operational expenditures. It's also cost-saving solution for storage, for example. We see a 60% drop on storage costs among those customers. And it's also more supple and more flexible to create on-the-fly environments for demonstrations, and trainings, development, and testing needs on SAP. So now I will hand it over to Mario Mendiola, who will do a demonstration of SAP on Azure, and you will see how streamlined it is to create an SAP instance and how fast it is.
Thanks, Louis. So my name is Mario Mendiola. I run the Microsoft SAP Technology Center. It's an SAP Competence Center here on the Microsoft Redmond campus. My main responsibility is working internally with the product teams whenever they need SAP expertise. And by doing that, we get early access to the products early on in the development cycle. And we're able to share that with the world by building out demos, building training and delivering training around the world, and doing proof of concepts with customers and partners like yourself. And so one thing that these three things have in common is they all need a Microsoft SAP landscape. And for the past 10 years, I've been buying servers for our labs here on campus. Servers are expensive, they get old fast. And with the advent of infrastructure as a service on Microsoft Azure, I was able to stop doing that. And so we built a solution internally at Microsoft so that we could provide these environments to the Microsoft field rapidly. And so I'll show you here a quick example of what that looks like. Here's a welcome screen. I'll just quickly log in using my live ID. And I'll deploy an environment based on a template. This environment is a collection of multiple virtual machines, 9 virtual machines in this case. We've enabled this environment template around the world. So if you're in Asia Pacific region, then you would deploy to the Tokyo data center of Microsoft Azure. In this case, we'll shoot one over to West Europe. That's the Amsterdam data center. Now, this environment is made up of, as I said, 9 virtual machines. And you can see here, 9 VMs. It will create 20 cores. It will use 20 cores, 34 gig of memory, and about 600 gig of space on disk. Now, I can select how long I want to demonstrate this environment. So I'll pick an hour. And then I could reserve it for later use so that it will automatically be started for me or deployed tomorrow, for example. But I can also start the environment immediately. And that's what I'll do right now. I'll create an environment. Now, behind the scenes, what's actually happening? We're using PowerShell scripts and the Microsoft Azure REST API to automate the deployment of this environment. And here in a few seconds, you'll see the environment start deploying. And then I can show you what's actually happening in the background. Now, let me jump over to the Microsoft Azure Management Portal, and I can show you exactly what's happening. Okay, so if I jump over here, the first thing that we create is an affinity group. This is the Microsoft Azure Management Portal. And so this affinity group, as you can see here, was created in West Europe. All an affinity group is allows you to group resources on Microsoft Azure in a specific data center or region. The next thing we create is a network. And that network is just a simple, classy network that allows these virtual machines to communicate with each other. And here, as I scroll down, you see it's a very simple network. We could have also connected up this network to a VPN and to our lab so that we could have our virtual network in Microsoft Azure connected to our local network in our lab. Now, the next thing that we do is we look at the Microsoft Azure storage. And here I'm using a tool called Cloud Explorer that allows me to see that storage. And you can see here, these are 13 virtual hard drives that make up this environment. This is about 600 gig on disk, and I'll show you something quick. I'll create a new container. I'll call it test. I'll go back to my template folder. I'll copy that. And then in my test container, I'll paste that. And I do this just to demonstrate how quickly you can replicate virtual hard drives or storage resources in Microsoft Azure, and that's what allows us to do these rapid deployments. Now, back to the Microsoft Azure Management Portal, the last thing that we create is the virtual machines, and you can now see that some of them have already started spinning up here. We have two, the Exchange server and the SharePoint server. Now, I'll switch back to our other screen, and you can see we are now in a starting phase, or creating phase, and some are starting. And this deployment will be completed in a couple minutes. Now, if I switch over to a deployment that I did a little earlier, I can show you another feature that we built in, and that is the ability to add application servers on an SAP instance rapidly. And so here's a small environment, a subset of the larger environment, with Active Directory and an ECC system. Now, let's say my month-end closing comes around, or I had that advertising campaign and I'm selling a lot of those T-shirts. If I hit the Add button here, I can add dynamically an additional application server. And I can do it again. And by doing that, I have just tripled the capacity of what I can compute on my SAP instance. One additional thing, I can then log into this instance using remote desktop and manage that environment. And I'll log in right here. But I could also log in using SAP GUI. And I have SAP GUI loaded on my desktop here. And so if I open up this .sap file, I can connect directly to that instance like this. And then one last thing I'll show you. Let's say I just wanted my environment up 8 hours a day. I can also schedule that environment to only be started, for example, at 8 a.m. and then shut down maybe at 5 p.m. And that would then be automated, let's say, on weekdays. Louis, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, Mario. This is very impressive. As you could see, you can deploy instances in less than 3 minutes and migrate more than 600 gigabytes of data within 10 seconds. So that's very impressive. Thank you very much, Mario. So now we'll cover another important pillar of the announcement that we did last week around BI. And we'll share more details about the Power BI connector for SAP BI. So as Rustam was sharing earlier in the presentation, our customers have been asking us to create interoperability solutions between both BI solutions since almost 10 years now. And what we announced last week is a general availability of the Power BI connector for SAP BI. So in few words, with this solution, you will be able to have a single version of the tools and connect directly to the semantic model of SAP Business Object 4.1 SP2 through Microsoft Excel type of user interface. You'll be able to have instant productivity and optimize your business performance by accessing to the semantic model of SAP Business Object. So we'll see a demonstration of this solution in a few minutes. Sony. And in few words, you will see that we added a connector in Power Query in Excel, and within a few clicks, you can import all the structured information from SAP Business Object into Excel. So with that, I will hand it over to Sanjay Soni, who will show you a demonstration of the Power BI connector. Sanjay, the floor is yours.
Thank you. All right. So as you can see, we are in Excel, and let's start with a business problem. Let's say we sell gaming consoles and hardware and software games, basically. And we are looking at our sales, which are going down here, sales over time decreasing, opportunities are increasing. So we have to investigate as a business analyst, what's happening here. So of course we could analyze all this in data in Excel, but at the end of the day, data lives in SAP. So if we go to IT department, they say, of course we have this data set in SAP, and on top of that SAP data, there's this, I'm looking at the business objects, BI, right here. I'm looking at my revenue report, but really to make it easily available for all the business power users, Excel is the way to go. So in past, we have had several ways to get to SAP data through Excel, but now we have just made it easier. So this is SAP Business Objects BI Universe. Let's say you have that. Then all you do is you go to Excel. In Excel, you have this new add-in called, of course, as part of Power Query, you have a new option from other sources. You go there and take a look at this new option from SAP Business Objects BI Universe. This way, you can import data from your SAP Business Objects BI universes. So if you click on this, now it's just going to ask you which server, SAP Business Objects BI Universe server, do you want to connect to. So I'm going to simply type the server name here, click OK. Now when you do this for the first time, it will ask you for user ID and password. So you could use your Windows authentication or your SAP other authentication that you have here, enterprise authentication. But in this case, I already inputted that information, so now I'm looking at the universes. As part of these universes, for my gaming scenario, I have this BI sales universe. So if you click on the BI universe, BI sales, we are simply browsing the universe schema. So for example here, for my scenario of gaming, I have channels. So let's say if I select some channel category, I go to my geography, I really want to see my sales revenue and opportunities that I have. So if I select countries, channel, and this time I'm going to select measure, which is going to be, let's say, my revenue and expenses, and let's say that's all I want. So far, we have not issued the query to the universe. You're simply browsing through that. Now, if you hover over this BI cells selected query, you're looking at, okay, we selected channel category, country, revenue, expenses. What you could do is then click on this and edit. So we still have not imported millions of rows of data. We're simply creating the query here. So here, even after doing this, you could add other items. So let's say I want to add my product information. So I'm going back to the universe here, simply browsing this and select product. Product category. Now I have all the information. Now Power Query is amazing because here you could really, you could do a simple ETL inside of Excel, for power users. So for example, right here, let's say I want to split this column into some of these other, other columns. Split column by number of characters. Let's say I just want to split this very simple example here. Let's say after 5 characters, I want to split this into separate columns. So you can do a lot of those things in Power Query, the real power of Power Query that you have. And of course, I can select only top 100 rows here. And after this, my query is ready. Now I can simply apply and close. So now this query is ready, everything is there for me. I could load this to worksheet or load this to data model. My favorite always is load to data model because you can load millions of rows of data, hundreds of millions of rows of data into Power Pivot. So if I click load right now, it will load this data set into Excel as well as Power Pivot. And that way my data is here as well as in the in-memory BI. Now I have all the power of Excel, Power Pivot. I could combine this data For example, in my scenario, I have this basically my sales are going down, and I want to combine this data set with some other Twitter sentiment data set. So what I could do is I've done some of this work offline, and I'm going to just show you real quick how it is there. So in Power Pivot, for example, I could actually load all this data set from different places, or my sentiment analytics from HD Insight. And once I have all this data set in one place, I could start analyzing data. So let's see real quick. Here we are. This is the Power Pivot I was talking about, where we can have hundreds of millions of rows of data. And once I have loaded all this, I can analyze this. I have my sales and Twitter sentiment view now. Now that I have Twitter sentiment data along with my sales data, I can see, well, sales are decreasing because there's some negative tweets happening over time. And this is the Power View. This is the Power View where I can quickly see this. I can, click on things, negative, positive, and I can see those things. This Power View. Now, one of my other favorite tools as part of Excel 2013 and Office 365 Power BI is Power Map. Once you have all this data sets available from different places, you could analyze this in Power View, in Power Map. So here we are looking at, you can create scenes, you can create stories. Why are my sales down? For example, here I'm looking at opportunities for gaming products in U.S. Now I could look at opportunities along with the revenue. Which areas do not have the revenue or have enough revenue? And I can zoom in. For example, what's happening here in Florida? Why are my sales down? So, of course, after investigation, we can find out one last thing. That one last thing is in Power Q&A. So you can take this Excel file where we got this data from SAP, from HD Insight, all over the place, and publish this to Power BI. In Power BI, you have something amazing. You can ask English language questions. So, for example, if I type number of opportunities per country. So here I'm typing a question, and look at this, the magic of having a nice chart which comes back with answers for that question. Now, number of opportunities per country, per product subcategory. So this is all really great because it's really coming from that Excel file that I had. If I don't like this visualization, I can go to bar chart. And this is all dynamic. It's not static charts. Really, there's a whole flexibility. And in my scenario, there was something happening about those products. So let's see, show negative tweets in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So then you can literally see what's happening in terms of my tweets that are happening or count of negative tweets. So you can literally see any kind of questions that you have here and literally analyze what's happening here. So that was the demo.
Thank you very much, Sanjay. That was very impressive. And you see with this solution that you combine the power of SAP BI with all the visualization capabilities of Power Query and Power View and the ease of use of Excel. So thank you very much, Sanjay. Now I will hand it over to the next speakers who will share with you more details on the interoperability solutions that were announced last week. So with Vivek Malhotra and Holger Groschel. So Vivek, now the floor is yours to share more details on solutions.
Great. Thanks a lot, Louis. Once again, good morning, good evening, everyone. My name is Vivek Malhotra, and I'll be co-presenting this interoperability section with Holger Groschel. As Rustam stated in the beginning of the presentation, interoperability continues to be an important pillar of solutions between SAP and Microsoft. The inherent need for enterprise customers to surface line of business data through Microsoft endpoints is very compelling to reach the broader population and audience within an enterprise with SAP data. So we are in market with Duet Enterprise, and I'll talk a little bit about it. But really, with regards to the future offering, we have in market Gateway for Microsoft. We went back to the table jointly with SAP, and we really focused on few interoperability principles that really make this new solution offering, future-proof. One of the key pillars here is open and extensible standards. So we're using industry standards such as OData and OAuth to integrate SAP data into Microsoft productivity solutions. we've gone away from the model of doing any kind of custom development or custom coding and focusing more on web services leveraging these standards to really drive this integration for elements such as authentication, data, and workflow. The other big tenet here is obviously in today's world with mobile first and cloud first, being able to consume this data across different devices is of key importance to enterprise customers and users. So this solution definitely enables that. And then the last piece is really allowing the developer to focus on the immersive experience of building applications and using standard tools like Visual Studio. That was very important because at the end of the day, interoperability solutions only light up by through different solutions that are built by an extensive partner channel ecosystem. So clearly we are going to be relying on you to help build this ecosystem out. And really the focus here is allowing you to focus on the creative aspects of bringing the solution to life in horizontal and vertical domains. So moving forward, and I'll have Holger also talk a little bit about SAP Gateway for Microsoft. But we're in market today with Do It Enterprise for SharePoint. It also supports the latest standards, OData and OAuth, but it's really designed for SharePoint. It uses plumbing within the SharePoint framework to really integrate SAP data. So very, very, very good solution, very viable solution. But at the end of the day, with our new play with SAP, we really wanted to focus on multiple endpoints beyond SharePoint as well. And hence comes into picture SAP's Gateway for Microsoft. SAP launched Gateway for Microsoft back in September, and it really focuses on two critical endpoints, Outlook and Excel, full support for 2010 and 2013 on-premise environments. So that's a very viable play for a lot of value-added scenarios that require Outlook and Excel. Beyond that, and my colleague Jürgen will talk about this a little bit more, is the Windows 8 mobile and native applications as well, where you can actually surface LOB data through the Windows 8 applications. And then the last two are very important. Obviously, from a UI perspective, HTML5, SAP is in market with Fiori, which really provides HTML5-based apps to the end user. It's a really cohesive strategy to really simplify back-end SAP processes and offer a simplified UI experience to the end customer. And at Microsoft, we're really embracing this new play in Fiori. We are working to make sure that it is compatible with Windows 8. We're doing testing right now. It already works with IE. But really where it really adds a lot of value is the integration of Fiori UI and Fiori apps to Microsoft productivity tools. So that's where Gateway for Microsoft really comes in, where we are going to leverage Gateway for Microsoft to allow partners and enterprises to extend Fiori applications within Microsoft productivity tools. The last piece here is what we are really going to be launching in the next few months, and we are right now in preview mode with SAP Gateway for Microsoft that supports Office 365 and Azure. This is actually a very important play for Microsoft and our enterprise customers. If you look at the momentum from an Office 365 perspective in the enterprise space, just last year, 60% of Fortune 500s adopted Office 365, and overall in the enterprise space, 1 out of 4 enterprises actually use Office 365. So we see the cloud as a very important pillar for customer adoption in the productivity space, and hence we're focusing on this release that's focused on Office 365. I will now turn it over to my colleague Holger, and Holger can talk a little bit more about Gateway for Microsoft, and then we will also show you a preview of the offering that works with Office 365.
Perfect. Thank you, Vivek. Yeah, so exactly before we are going to take a look and actually a live demo at the Office 365 integration, let me quickly spend a few more words on the current offering and also the whole idea, the principles that we have with Gateway for Microsoft. So we very much know that a lot of customers are using lots of different Microsoft productivity tools. And I mean, we just saw the beautiful Power BI integration. But actually, if we look at a typical desktop user right now, I would say that Outlook is probably the tool that runs most of the time. So it's probably the tool that is the first tool that I start in the morning and the last tool that I that I shut down in the evening. And very much similar like Outlook, we can see that a lot of customers are using Lync, are using SharePoint, are using Exchange in their daily life. So our driving principle behind Gateway for Microsoft is really to bring SAP data and processes in these Microsoft productivity tools. So Vivek already mentioned the Outlook and Excel integration that we have, and there actually we have some great templates that help you integrate, for example, SAP workflows directly in Outlook. Or we have some other scenarios and templates where we really try to engage and enable the Microsoft.NET developer to very easily access SAP data in an enterprise-ready manner, so that we really take care of the single sign-on aspects, that we take care of the supportability aspects, so that in the end the developer can really focus on the application and not so much on the technical underlying plumbing. That's all part what is already available now as part of Gateway for Microsoft, with a focus on the Office 2010 and Office 2013 integration. But actually, one very exciting thing that we are working on and that Vivek mentioned is the integration in the cloud into Microsoft Azure. So here we're trying to follow the very same principles that we have the single sign-on connectivity from Azure, from Office 365, from the different applications that can run on the Microsoft Cloud into the SAP backend system, so that you can not only retrieve information from SAP, but you can also really work on this information directly from your Microsoft Cloud-based productivity tools. So with that, actually, let me quickly share my screen so we can have a live demo on this. So I'll start by signing on to Office 365. So I'm really using my Microsoft credentials. I'm logging in with my Microsoft user. So you can see here we are on the login page. Okay, and it takes some time. I was just testing it 10 minutes ago and it was very fast. So here now I'm here on SharePoint Online, and in this scenario I'm now accessing an application, a demo application that we built, and seller dashboard. The idea is that I'm connected here with my user Holger Bochelt on Microsoft, and I'm accessing this view of cars coming from the SAP side. So it's very important to really understand that this is a live call to the SAP system. We're making sure that the single sign-on aspects are all covered, that the connectivity, the security aspects are all there. And now we can see this very simple list in SharePoint. For me as an end user, this is like accessing any other Microsoft-based information, but it's really coming from SAP. So if I scroll down, you can see that we are paging additional information from the SAP system and really retrieving all this information live from SAP. I can also switch to a different view and get additional information. So, for example, some pictures and some generic overview of the products that are available in the SAP system. I can drill down and I get an even more detailed view. I could even enrich the scenario, for example, with link information, so that I could easily ping and contact this seller, and he could provide me with more information on a specific car. And actually, let's just do that. Let's go back to Outlook, and in this case, I don't want to use the rich client, the Outlook rich client, so Outlook 2013, but I really want to use the Outlook Web Access. So here, actually, there are some great enhancements with Office 365, with Office 2013, in the way how you can enhance and enrich your Office in applications. So if you look at the Office 2010 time, for example, when you want to enrich your Office experience, you always have to roll out applications. Now with Office 365, there's this possibility to dynamically add applications to your email. So in this case, for example, I can click on the apps button, and I can see that there are several apps assigned to my user. And one of these apps is actually the Contosa Motors Compose Mail app. If I click on this on this application, then we're again following the very same approach as we've seen in SharePoint. I am logged in as the user Holger Bruchelt on Microsoft, and I'm using now the single sign-on connectivity to my SAP backend system to retrieve this list of cars. So let's say I want additional information. So I'll send an email, need more info, and now please provide more data. And now I just want to select the cars that I can see in this catalog from SAP, and I can simply click this information, and I add some stock information here in my email. So very, very easy to interact between SAP data and my Microsoft application. So if I click on send, then we'll send now this email to the user Truman. And now let's switch to the mailbox of this user Truman. So I'll log on now with the user Truman. So I'll authenticate now with a different username. I log on to my Outlook running on Office 365. And the mailbox opens in a second. Here we go. Outlook web app is starting. Okay, here we go. And I can already see my email that I just sent to Truman. Now, the interesting thing here again is usually if I'm now the sales guy and I get this email, I need additional information. Usually what I needed to do is open this email, take a look at the stock number, then go back to my SAP system, copy and paste this information, then open another email and click on reply. Now, with this integration Office 365, we actually have the possibility to dynamically react on the content. So you can see here are the information for the stock number, and we can see that dynamically this application, Contosa Motors Viewer, has been loaded. So the application already knows or assumes that there might be information in this email that could fit to my Contosa Motors Viewer. So if I click this information now here, then you can see that the stock numbers are marked. We're taking the information of these stock numbers. We're making the online call, the OData call to the SAP system, retrieving this specific car information and surfacing this information directly in my email. So I don't have to go to another system, maybe remember my SAP logon credentials, copy and paste some information from some specific transaction. I really have everything here in place. So for me as the business user, this is the perfect scenario. I have everything included here. I can easily drill down. I can select different information. I can get the information that I need and then simply reply to the user and provide additional feedback. So I think with this very, very quick demo, I really wanted to highlight that with our planned integration in Office 365, we enable, or by providing our technical infrastructure, by providing the basic plumbing, we ensure the single sign-on and security and the other enterprise readiness aspects to really enable partners, customers to build beautiful applications within Office 365 that actually leverage and work with data coming from the SAP system. So with this, let me hand over now to Jürgen, who will talk more about the mobile and Windows 8 integration.
Yes, thank you, Holger. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure for me to present to you today. And I will talk a little bit more about the mobility strategy that we are having with SAP. And let me just go to my slides here. Yeah, so we have seen already from Holger and before this also the Power BI demo. So all of these are kind of applications or usage scenarios where people do this on mobile devices. And let's say this screenshot that you see here, right, or let's say this picture that you see here right now is, let's say, only showing a glimpse of what you can do on mobile devices. Let it be you have a native application running on a phone, running on a tablet device that you use to work with business data on this device. Or you use or leverage SharePoint, this was what Holger has shown, or you use Power BI, or you have, let's say, other applications, native also now, let's say, the new SAP Fiori applications that run in a browser that you would use on your mobile device. So these are all, let's say, scenarios, and they fit all to our both strategies, so Microsoft and SAP strategy, where we say we have a mobile-first, cloud-first strategy. So we both have the same strategy here. And I would like to give you a quick update on where we are right now with SAP on this mobility topic. And let's say this gives you a little bit an idea on, let's say, what applications we have already released, which are in the stores, in the Windows Store. And you see right now we have a couple of HCM solutions and sales and finance solutions that are in the Windows Store. Let it be the Windows device, so Windows Tablet Store or Windows Phone Store. And we are definitely working on bringing more applications to the market. So we are actually actively working on getting more industry apps into the market. You actually see that we have so far the SAP EMR Environment, so this electronic medical record Environment application, which is already in the market. We are coming also out with very soon with a utility application, which is the SAP Work Manager. This is still a classical mode application which runs on the desktop, but nevertheless it is a very important application. It can be used on tablet devices. It's enhanced to be used on tablet devices, and over the time we will also deliver this application, this Work Manager, as a modern application. And in addition to this, we are also working on analytics applications. So these are most common, most asked applications by our customers, like the business objects, mobile BI applications. We are working on and a couple of other applications for banking, for retail and utilities that we are working on here right now. One of the very important pillars that we need to deliver and want to deliver in the next couple of months is definitely that we make the SAP mobile platform fully ready for Windows 8.1 and Windows Phone 8.1. So this is a lot of effort that we are actually putting into our joint work here, so that the SAP SMP3 platform is supporting the Microsoft platform. So this is one very important pillar here. And then you also see on the, let's say, bottom on the right side that we are having some ideas around Fiori, how Fiori can run better on the Windows device. And I will give you an idea how this looks like in a minute on my tablet computer here. So what I will do now is that I will switch over to my presentation and give my device here and give you a quick presentation of some of the applications that are already in the store, in the Windows Store. So my call to you is definitely after this here, go to the Windows Store and download these applications from there and try it out, show it to your customers. And yeah, you are also able to develop similar applications, other applications, industry applications on this, leveraging already these gateway technologies, and very soon also the SAP mobile platform, so that customers can really get these mobile applications that they need. Okay, let me just switch over to my desktop. And apparently what you see here now is my Windows 8.1 desktop. So I'm actually in the desktop mode here. So for people that have not worked with Windows 8.1 so far, is that if you want to, you can all day work in a desktop mode. What I will do here now is I want to start one of these applications that are already in the store, which is a modern application that I can then use with my finger. So first here, I'm actually still using my mouse. So I will start the Receivables Manager. So it's coming, if you download it from the store, in a demo mode, so you can work with this data here. So this Receivables Manager shows me the outstanding payments from my customers, for example. So I can go in here, touch now into this area, and see what outstandings I'm having here. And I see also a list of customers here, and description how much they have to pay to my company. One thing that I could do here right now is that I could, let's say, maybe if I want to work with this data here that I'm having here in this app, I could easily export this information to my Excel application. So this means I can then continue working with Excel and working on the desktop here again, and let's say work with an Excel sheet to, let's say, forward this maybe to my management or to other people in my company. So this would be one option that what I can do. I close this again. Next thing, what I will do here again is the other thing what I could do. Okay, I saw here that there's a company called Bohr and Hammer, and this has a lot of outstandings, and I might be interested to get more insight into what is this Bohr and Hammer company all about. And so what I could do here is that I start side by side another application, which is now my SAP customer financial fact sheet application. And what you see already here is what I have done with my Windows 8 device here is that I have a kind of split my screen. So I have here now two applications running side by side. So I could use two applications at a time and can work with this information here. So I will now look into this Bohr and Hammer customer here. And so what I see here is a lot of information about facts about this customer, let's say payments of this customer. Then let's say I can see maybe a lot of orders here and invoices of this customer. Then I could have a look into maybe into these invoices and look into maybe that there might be invoices that are, let's say, that the customer hasn't paid yet, and so I can communicate to him. So what I'm having here again, I was opening up a PDF document. This is an invoice here. I can open up another one. And you see again, I have a nice split screen here. On the left side, I have my financial fact sheet running, so the SAP application, and on the right side, I have my PDF document up and running and can look through the PDF document here. And maybe that this is, let's say, the invoice that the customer hasn't paid yet. And so what we could do now is that I can easily, let's say, share this information, and this I'm swiping this in from the right now with my finger, and share this information with my customer. And so what this would mean is, if I click on this one, I would attach this PDF document directly to an email to my customer, can send him some comments here, and then off we go, and this information will be sent to my customer. So you see, you can do a lot of more things, let's say, in two things in parallel on such a Windows device, on a Windows 8 device, because you have this concept of splitting the screens and, let's say, running these applications then in a split mode. The other thing what I would like to show you is, here, first of all, my start screen here shows 10 of these SAP applications that we already have in the Windows Store. The other thing what I would like to show you very quickly is what we are doing in regards to Fiori. So normally, if you would like to log into Fiori, it goes this way, that you start a browser, like my Internet Explorer 11, which is now supported here, and I go in with my user here, type in my passwords, and then I land on my Fiori start screen. There I need to find maybe my Fiori application here, like the approved purchase orders, for example, and then I would, let's say, land in this application. So what we have done now, I'm closing this application, what we have done now with as a prototype, and this is where we're actually working on with SAP, is that we have developed a Fiori client. So if I start the Fiori client, I might log in once, then I see all these SAP Fiori applications directly in my Fiori client. So this is now an app. It can also run side by side, maybe with my desktop, for example. If I split the screen again, so I close this again, and then what I could do here, okay, I jump into some of these, let's say, applications and can do my approvals now, for example. And the other nice thing, what we could do here on Windows 8 is that we could directly, if this is one of these apps is very important to me, I could swipe in from the top here, and I could say, okay, my timesheet, for example, this is the nice one. This is the one that I want to pin to my start screen. Oops, this was wrong now. Let me do this again. Pin it to my start screen, and what this would mean is, if I go back to my start screen, I have this application now directly pinned to my start screen, and you see also a so-called lifestyle update here. In a few seconds, you should see there are 30 items that I have to insert in my timesheet here. And so this is something where a lot of our customers got very excited because they now don't need to start a browser, go into the Fiori launchpad, and then find the Fiori application they need to work with. They can directly pin the most important applications on the start screen here, and then with one click, they directly jump into this Fiori application, and then they can enter their information here. So this is actually a prototype that we have developed, and we are working actively with SAP here to get this Fiori client into the Windows Store. And this will then enable, let's say, more than 200, and I think there will be a lot of new announcements on Sapphire next week, multiple hundreds of SAP Fiori applications on a Windows 8 device and also on a Windows 8 phone in the near future, so that you can leverage this then directly on these devices. So having this said, I would like to switch back to the presentation here. So I go back to the presentation and hand over back to Louis, so that Louis can take the
Thank you.
last slide. Okay?
Thank you very much, Jürgen, and thank you also, Vivek and Holger, for the previous presentations. That was very impressive. Before concluding this presentation, we would like to share with you a few resources that you can find online on the Microsoft website properties or on the SAP website properties. And you see here all those URLs where you can find all the information that were presented today. With that, I would like to thank all the SAP speakers and Microsoft speakers for today's presentation. I would like to conclude this presentation with that. So thank you, everybody, and feel free to ask questions in the Q&A window on the top of your screen.
Perfect. Thanks, Louis. So, ladies and gentlemen, what you should see up on the screen here as we close down today is a link to a short survey. We appreciate you taking a moment to fill it out prior to logging out. You're going to need to enter your email address to access the survey questions. When you're in there, our voting scale is on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being the worst and 5 being the best. So if you got some great information from our team today, or if you have some recommendations for future events, we'd love to hear from you. Be sure to click on the Submit button at the bottom to ensure that your feedback has been received. And with that, that does conclude today's Partner Academy Live webcast. Again, all the live meeting replay will be available on the Partner Learning Center within 24 hours. I'd like to extend a big thank you to our presenter team, and thank you, audience, for logging in and joining us today.